Hello, and thank you so much for joining the PropsClear podcast. I'm your host, Jillian Angeline. We're talking all about drones and about improving public perception surrounding the unmanned aircraft. These episodes are for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only, so none of this constitutes legal advice. Before we get to today's guest, I want to tell you about a product I've been using for networking. It's the Popple Digital Business Card. You can see that QR code right there. And with just a tap onto someone's phone, you're able to share your business contact information with them. You can use my discount code Angeline, Angeline. Now, on to today's episode. We're talking with Eno Umoh. He's a drone consultant and business coach, and he joins me all the way from Nigeria. Well, Eno, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to talk with you. We first met at the Commercial UAV Expo, but we had been messaging with each other in the days before that. What I loved so much is one of the videos I saw is the work that you did with the Global Air Drone Academy. And you went into Tanzania, but you go into other countries as well, and you educate kids about drones. What was that experience like, and how does that change you and your mission?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciative for the time and all the effort you're putting in to get the word out. So really do appreciate that. The journey to Tanzania, it's obviously a result of other programs and projects that we've had, but I have had a personal connection, of course, to Sub-Saharan Africa and Africa in general, but Sub-Saharan Africa in particular, with existing connections and partnerships. But yeah, being able to use drones in the educational context on the continent to really give access to students who would probably not otherwise have that exposure. It's a really big part of what we do at the Global Air Drone Academy. So we typically go in with actionable hands-on activities. In particular, in Tanzania, of course, there was a language barrier. We had to have local translators who actually were able to help us and communicate with the students. But yeah, we're all about hands-on flight activities, and then having them understand the business entrepreneurial opportunities as well. So having them really in a local context understand, hey, drones are being used for agriculture or could be mining. But yeah, really impactful to be able to do programs like that, and always looking to do more for sure.
So how do you say the word drone in Swahili? That's the big question.
That's a good one. I would say I think they just said drone.
Okay.
They just used the English word, so a little boring, but it worked.
One of the things, there's someone that gave you a recommendation on your LinkedIn page and talked about how you not only can go and talk with high level government officials, but you can get on, the level of these kids that are learning about
Mhm.
drones for the very first time and be able to teach them everything from the ground up. What was that
Yeah.
experience like going there and maybe showing kids who'd never seen something that flew like that for the first time? What was it like to see the wonder in their eyes?
Yeah, so I'll kind of start where this really where we had our spark for this opportunity. This was back in 2016 in Baltimore, where we're born and raised and headquartered, and we were actually called to come out to speak at a local community center in Baltimore.
Mhm.
And this was literally weeks after the Freddie Gray tragedy happened, and there was so much unrest in Baltimore. And a community center in that same neighborhood where all this happened asked us to come out and just show
Oh,
the drones, right? Show the students what we were doing, and that program went so well. We called it Drone Camp, and that's when we understood like this is an opportunity that we can take to other schools. And from there we put together a program and started to do after school programs and summer camps as well. So that really, led us on a trajectory to do these programs in many more places. Of course, once you do a successful program, other people will see it, and it just makes it, so much easier for you to expand, from there. So that yeah, again, it really is a culmination of these experiences, and yeah, I mean, being able to show these kids, they likely never seen a drone before. Well, funny enough, let me not say that. Some of these kids actually have seen drones before. It's very popular when it comes to weddings and events. So when they go to these events now, you're likely going to see a drone, kind of flying around. But understanding, of course, what the drone does, how to build it, actually seeing it as a career, that's where we like separate that, it just being a novelty and it now being an actual, opportunity for them. So
I heard your voiceover and you said, and you sounded surprised. You said, yeah, two of the kids decided, hey, or students decided, hey, let me take apart this entire drone and put it together for you for some other
yeah,
people visiting.
yeah,
There was a little bit surprise in your voice. Was that something that
yeah.
was in your lesson plan when you walked in the door, or was that something that kind of happened on the fly?
Yeah, I think that's one of those instances where it's always something unexpected that the students will do. It could be a business plan idea that we never thought of, or it could be something like what these two young students did. And there was some press that came in that heard about the program,
Mhm.
and they wanted to just interview some students to get their get their feedback and what they thought about the program. And next thing we know, they're taking the drone apart and putting it back together so that they can capture it, on their news clip on the phone. So just to see them pick it up that quickly is really inspiring. It just proves that these students are as capable, they're as knowledgeable, they're as talented. They just need the access. They need opportunities to express themselves. So for us, it's like how do we do more, right? We don't want this to be like a one-off workshop and it's like, all right, well,
Mhm.
what do we do now? So it's really about, all right, what happens in the future? How do we keep giving them equipment or curriculum that they can use? So super super exciting.
Yeah, because you don't just want to walk in one day, show them, 3 hour, 4 hour session and then leave and then
Yeah,
never, follow through on that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I guess your Global Air Drone Academy is also doing follow ups with these places.
Yeah. So one of the things that we're doing now is introducing drone soccer, which is a growing sport. If anyone is unaware of drone soccer, I would highly encourage you to
I
just
do
do a quick
not. Can you
YouTube.
explain?
Yeah. So it's actually a really awesome sport, and to now have it in a competitive sense. So it's science, it's math, it's engineering, and it's sports, right? It's all kind of wrapped up. So we've done our first official competition in Nigeria last year in 2022. We have another one actually coming up next month on December the 8th here in Lagos. And we're looking to create more teams around the continent, like Tanzania and Zimbabwe as well. So those are the type of things that we do that are a little bit more involved. But as far as like simple solutions, we've done what we call our STEAM Camp in a Box, where we actually give out materials and accessories and the
Oh,
things that
wow.
teachers would need to actually start their own after school drone program. So they'll get like a couple of drone building kits, they'll get curriculum, and really, again, those materials that they need to run like an 8 week after school program, all in the box for them. So that's the stuff that we try to do for sure.
Can we step back and can you define what drone soccer is? Because if I don't know what
Yeah.
that is, I think a lot of other people, my listeners, may not actually know what that is as well.
Yeah, so drone soccer is a very innovative, very new sport. It originated in Korea, but
Mhm.
essentially, if you can imagine the game of Quidditch, as they have in Harry Potter, you have a drone that's a around like a sphere, like an exoskeleton, and you have two teams, right? So one team is controlling the drone and trying to actually score on the opponent's hoop, and of course that team is now trying to block that opponent from scoring on their hoop. So there's these balls flying around, and essentially there are different roles on the team. So you have an engineer who's responsible for building and repairing the drone when it crashes. Right, these drones are colliding with each other. You have a programmer who's responsible for recalibrating and fine tuning, pit tuning the drone as well. Then you also have, of course, the pilot, right? The pilot who's actually the best kind of flyer and the most, with the most precision on it. So yeah, it's a really, really involved sport. There are different sets. And what really makes it interesting is between, let's say it's about a 2 or 3 minute set, you have this kind of break period where you have to rush and go get your, sort of like a NASCAR scenario where you're rushing, getting your drone and repairing it, and you have to be really quick, to get ready for the next round. So there's teamwork, there's tears, right? There are laughs, there's all sorts of
Oh
emotions,
no.
with it as well. Yeah, so it's really, really fun. It's spreading. There's actually an association in the states that we first started to partner with, and then now we're doing our own league on the African continent.
Well, now I feel like I have to go watch a game and actually see this in person because you've intrigued me
Yeah,
so much. So I guess
yeah,
now I have to start looking up where to find drone soccer in the continental US,
absolutely.
huh?
And I'm gonna go ahead and plug our competition that we have on December the 8th, which is a Friday. So we are going to live stream it on our Global Air Drone Academy YouTube page. You'll get to see the students in action. We have different schools from various states here in Nigeria that they're going to come here to Lagos and yeah compete. It's going to be like a 3 day competition. So the 8th is the grand finale, and yeah, I'll make sure everyone has the link and gets access to that for sure.
And that's in Lagos, Nigeria.
In Lagos, Nigeria. Yep,
And you
for
split your
about six
time
teams.
between Baltimore and Lagos. Uh,
Yeah,
why do you do that? And how does that help expand your business from one
yeah.
continent to another?
Definitely. Well, I've always been a traveler. I've always loved, exploring, different cultures. My father is Nigerian, so that explains a little bit why we decided to come here and open a local office. But yeah, I think from the very beginning, true to our name, Global Air, we wanted to be able to expand. We knew that we had something that wasn't just for use, in the United States. This is a technology that's useful in every single country in the world. So we see ourselves as versatile, in that sense, and really just being able to take advantage of opportunities. I mean, of course, you can't expand overseas unless you have good partnerships. So we've been able to work and use the networks like the U.S. government. Right, they have a business matchmaking program. If you are a U.S. based business, you have resources at your disposal to go to the U.S. commercial service and say, hey, we want to open up an office in
Wow.
Brazil. We want to open up an office in Namibia, and they will actually point you in the right direction, introduce you to the right partners. So these are resources available to any U.S. business out there. So we just took advantage of it, right? And we also have a grant funding system where if we're doing work under our nonprofit, we're able to get grants at the various U.S. embassies, around the world. So it does make it, more easy, right? When
Mhm.
you're able to do one successful project, and then yeah, can do subsequent ones down the line. So,
Wow. I know that you had mentioned in one of the bios I was reading about you that you had failed twice before you felt success. And I think, I
yeah,
see quotes all around that, through the years about, sometimes you have to fail in order to succeed, or it takes a long time. Sometimes you just have to have a lot of perseverance to be able to get to where you actually want to be. And if something doesn't go your
yeah,
way the first time or the second time, it doesn't mean that you're not meant to do something. It just means that you have a story to tell now.
yeah.
Tell me about what it's been like to feel that perseverance yourself. And did you ever think you'd be where you are today years ago?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the insight with the question. I mean, I honestly have to give credit to my dad for my entrepreneurial pedigree and just having the foresight, right, to even go
Hmm.
about this. He was an entrepreneur. He had a construction project management firm,
Hmm.
and yeah, everything I've learned as far as the ups and downs of running a business, yeah, have come from him. So that is definitely obviously a factor when it comes to just having that mindset. But yeah, it's the road to entrepreneurship is something I love talking about. Of course, on LinkedIn and just my insights. Um, the biggest thing that I think I've realized is it's as much as we like to say that everyone should be an entrepreneur, everyone should be a business owner. It is the greatest opportunity in my my humble opinion, but it is a lot of work, right?
Mhm.
And I think that most people, of course, they realize that, right, once they get into it, and they're like, man, this is a lot, right, that you have to take on. But
Mhm.
there are, yeah, certain people who will kind of persevere and go with it. I think for me, it's just always having that utmost confidence that you can get it done. I've
Mhm.
always been a firm believer as if you can write it down, if you can, I always say speak it into existence. There's
Mhm.
literally no reason that it can't be done, right? Unless there are just some forces against you where you just can't persevere. But I always feel that there's a way to get it done. And the other thing I've realized over the years is there's no way to get to that next level if you're not upskilling yourself. So
Mhm.
part of my journey involves me not just knowing how to operate a drone,
Mhm.
but it's learning how to market my company better, right? Learning how to do graphic design, right?
Mhm.
And learning how to speak. I think you mentioned, earlier, knowing how to communicate with different, if you're in a certain rooms, how to communicate, with those folks.
Absolutely.
So I think it does come down to these really tangible, skill sets that you have to have as well. And just, having that commitment. The last thing I'll say is,
Yeah.
we always refer to our getting into the business as we dove headfirst, off the cliff.
Took the
It is
leap.
literally, it's like that 100% effort, right? Is very much needed. You can't put in 30% and then expect 100% return. So it really is like, all right, you got to commit to it, and every single day, that's what it is. So,
I love that. And I think that applies not just to the drone industry, even though this is a drone podcast. My goal is to improve public perception about drones, but also you can apply that kind of advice and mindset to just about any industry in the whole
absolutely,
world. And I
absolutely.
think, especially as I talk with, my guests and leaders in the drone industry, what I've been hearing is there's so much need for partnership with other areas. There's a need for a
Mhm.
partnership with construction industries. There's a need for a partnership with the toll road industry. There's a need for a partnership with so many other areas that we haven't even figured out yet as an industry.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
that we're going to need entrepreneurs from other areas to reach to us to be able to be like, hey, we can make this partnership work. And this is going to be the way of the
Mhm.
future.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say, I mean, we are nowhere, without our partners, and, just making yourself unique and
Mhm.
valuable enough that partners actually want to work with you, right? Is a really key, part of it as well. So yeah, it's all about partnership. And this industry, we talk about it all the time. I feel very confident that most of the companies in the industry, I'm sure you saw it at CUAV,
Mhm.
but yeah, everyone's talking. Everyone's very collaborative. There's no one really like gatekeeping information. Everyone is just, hey, here's value. Here's how we
Mhm.
can partner. Let's figure out, something. I can imagine other industries aren't the same. It's really kind of probably cutthroat, and but this one is, yeah, it's really really open. It's friendly, and I'm glad to see so much collaboration.
That's so exciting. What are you working on in the next year or two in your, long-term plan for the Global Air Drone Academy, for Global Air Media, and for some of your consultant work? What are you hoping? How are you hoping to expand or reach more people?
Yeah, so we're just gonna keep providing value. I would say, for me, it's more of a journey from more of journey evolution of being a drone pilot to a drone service provider, a DSP, to now consultant, where I'm able to work with drone companies every single day, help them come up with business strategy and marketing techniques and lead generation. And yeah, it's a really big need in the industry right now. Most drone entrepreneurs are very technical when it comes to their background, but when it comes to marketing and sales, it's a whole different a whole different beast. So as we know from being in the industry for 8 years, flying drones really well and being solid on deliverables is totally separate than actually running the business and getting in new clients consistently. So that's what we help with. We help with lead gen, and that's really what I find passionate about. Right, you have all these drone businesses with great ideas. They just have to get it out there, have to market it better. So I would say, yeah, my passion is in training. It's in consultation, helping other drone companies, get where they need to be. And yeah, I'll be here for a while.
I like that. I'll be here for a while. That's the way to cement yourself into the industry and say, put your feet down and say, I'm not going anywhere. That's
Yeah.
really great. What are you hoping to achieve in Africa? Are you hoping to spread to other schools and introduce yourself and your drones to others? What I've heard, I was at a conference, a few months ago in New York City, tied with the UN General Assembly, and many of the leaders at that conference were from Nigeria. They talked about how Africa as a continent has the youngest population. And so there are so many, tens of millions under the age of 18 that you can go and, get excited about getting into this industry, from
Yeah.
right out of school.
Yeah. Yeah, so the opportunity is huge. I can tell you for sure that coming to Nigeria was a very deliberate move. Once I started to see all the statistics about just what was going to be going on here, they're estimating by 2050, Nigeria is going to be the third most populous country on earth. So there's a lot of opportunities, right, that come with that population growth and just the need for specialized education and applications as well. So there's a lot going on on the continent. Just a quick backstory on our
Yeah.
history around the continent. We entered into a business competition in 2020 called the African Drone Business Competition. It was a part of the African Drone Forum in Rwanda, which some of the viewers may be familiar with, but it was essentially a really big conference for drone entrepreneurship and innovation in Africa.
Mhm.
So we were able to actually win, the competition, and with the seed funding, we were able to open our local office here in Lagos, Nigeria. So that gave us, an opportunity to really, stake our claim here and have a presence here. And now we've actually been honored with the opportunity to run the African Drone Forum to kind of revive what it was back in 2020. So we are definitely on a continent-wide scale, bringing together, everyone, drone service providers, youth, consultants, regulators, and we'll have another big conference in due time. And we're going to have some regional events and some virtual events as well next year. So, yeah, very exciting to be able to revive the African Drone Forum. And yeah, I would say anyone who's interested on the continent, just look up the social media pages, and yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more on that side.
That's so exciting and so necessary. When I spoke with Kat James a couple of weeks ago, she talked about how the drone industry in Africa went from the Wild West to being very restrictive. And she detailed to me the amount it costs just to lift off your drone, what that's like, and the cost involved with just getting your pilot's license in Africa. And it would be cost prohibitive here in the US for many at those, at that price. And it's cost prohibitive in Africa as well. Are you also working with federal regulators in Africa, or at least trying to find a way to lobby to get some of those restrictions improved?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a big issue. It's a big problem. I would say definitely if you are a drone pilot or looking to get licensed in the states, you have it easy as far as the licensing requirements. Most countries outside of the states, you have to pay, yeah, probably somewhere around $1,000, anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 for a certain approved training academy, who you go through, and they will give you the approved training, and then you take that to the local civil aviation authority and get your approvals, from there. Yes, you have some countries like Kenya who you have to pay every single time you take off the drone. There's others where maybe there's a blanket approval, but you have to pay, yeah, extra couple $1,000, for that. So definitely something that we are working on. We of course are always, referring to FAA guidelines, and even though some can consider it as a much easier lift as far as just having a theory only test, right, instead of actually having to go out and fly and do anything practical. But
Mhm.
there is a balance, right? If I just maybe talk about the issue in Nigeria, what the high cost to enter has caused is you now have tens of thousands, literally tens of thousands of freelance pilots
Mhm.
who are not licensed, right? They're flying these weddings, these events. They don't have any formal training, and the situation. And let's not even say. I mean, the cost. I mean, that some would gladly pay the cost, right? But sometimes
Mhm.
it's just so much bureaucracy, right,
Yeah.
and inability to meet the right person or see the right, get to the right office, that you can't even get that far. So there's a huge problem that we're trying to fix, and that's part of why I'm here, as well, to
Mhm.
actually help in those areas. And you can't do that from a few Zoom calls, right? You have to be on ground and be able to talk to these people and push things through. So
Well, I really appreciate the optimism and the hope that things are going to improve in the coming months and years, both in Africa, here in the US, and we're going to see so much technological improvement and partnerships in the coming time. Well, thank you so much, Eno, for your time. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you soon.
thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
If you have topics or suggestions for future episodes, email me angelswings.jillian@gmail.com. That's ANGELSWINGS.JILLIAN@gmail.com. I'll see you later.